And if you're not taking care of yourself and you're feeling very overwhelmed, it's really easy to feel like every decision that you're making is urgent. Everything needs to be taken care of right now, right here. And when we come from that position, even just simply as looking at an email and saying, I can respond to that later, it doesn't feel like that. Your body is responding to this is a crisis. Your body is still going to respond like you're doing something wrong, right? Because your body is used to everything being predictable. Your behavior, you're going against predictable behavior. This is all that's happening. There's just discomfort that's happening in your body. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just uncomfortable with the new behavior. If I don't protect my time, no one else is. And
Hey, aloha, everybody. If you're constantly saying yes to clients, stretching yourself thin, or feeling guilty for setting limits, this episode is your permission slip. Boundaries aren't just personal, they're a business skill. And learning to protect your time, energy, and nervous system might be the smartest move you can make as a small business owner.
Today, we're chatting with Victoria Duarte. She helps small businesses set boundaries and reconnect with their bodies. Small business owners, I should say, set boundaries and reconnect with their bodies. We're going to talk about emotional burnout and how it's not really just personal, it's an actual business risk. Now, Victoria is a certified somatic coach and co founder of the Healing Arts Center. Together, her and her other co-founder help entrepreneurs reconnect with their bodies, set compassionate boundaries, and create sustainable systems for navigating stress with clarity. Hi, Selena.
Hi, Anna. I'm super excited for today's show, and I'm super excited for how gracious our guest is today. We've had a Monday, and so, yeah, we're ready to get this started, aren't we?
We are so ready. I love this conversation topic personally because I know I struggle with boundaries, right? Especially as a business owner and a small business owner where you want to please your clients in a way that keeps them coming back. And so I'm excited to hear what she has to say. And I really loved that whole idea of like emotional burnouts, not just a personal thing, it actually affects your business as well. So today's topic is going to be super fun to get some insight and wisdom from somebody who does this for a living, right?
Yeah, 100%. Let's bring Victoria up and let's just get this party started.
Okay, here she comes. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, so wonderful to share space with you.
Welcome to our show. Before we get started and dig into our question, we love to take a little like imaginary selfie with you, Victoria. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and you can smile, you can pose, whatever floats your boat. Okay. So on 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, see, that was so great. So, Victoria, first of all, thank you for being the most gracious person today in my Monday because, yeah, it was a Monday for Monday. Would you not agree?
It's been one of those days.
Yes. Anna, let's dive into the question, and we're going to put Victoria into our favorite like position of speaking. And yeah, let's go. Let's do the first question.
Victoria, you are in the hot spot, and we've got a question that kind of just to start this conversation. I'm going to pull it up right here. It says, how does your nervous system regulation impact decision making, leadership, and burnout as a small business owner? Ooh, that's a big one.
That is a big one. And if you're not taking care of yourself and you're feeling very overwhelmed, it's really easy to feel like every decision that you're making is urgent. Everything needs to be taken care of right now, right here. And when we come from that position, even just simply as looking at an email and saying, I can respond to that later, it doesn't feel like that. Your body is responding to this is a crisis if I don't. And there may have been previous history where if you don't respond to that email, something could have happened. You could have had a boss maybe in a previous, when you weren't an entrepreneur, when you weren't the owner of the business, who would breathe down your neck, where you were micromanaged. So making decisions, you weren't empowered to. It was very much like everything was extremely important to do right here, right now. And that's what leads to burnout, is when you can't decipher what is important, what's a priority versus what can be taken care of at a later time. And being able to manage your time and to take care of yourself, it's a priority. It's not something that you can put on the back burner. And as an entrepreneur, I think most of us put our self-care in that back burner. I'll get to that sometime. I'll get to that later, maybe later today, maybe later this week, maybe next month, maybe next year. And so it's this constant pressure that we put on ourselves to make sure every single person is taken care of except us, the person leading the company, the person making the decisions. And so if the first thing you're doing in the morning is you're waking up and you're checking your email or you're checking your social media for your business or whatever it is, you're already creating distraction. You are moving yourself away from feeling at peace. And as much as that's a simple act, what we're doing is, as the moment we open our eyes, we're already overwhelming ourselves. Instead of giving ourselves some sense of comfort and some sense of, hey, I'm going to get through today. Instead of giving yourself a little pep talk or feeling good about yourself, you're already waking up to the list of things to do, overwhelming yourself with what's going on in the world. And if we can take quiet little moments, those are tiny little moments that are so critical to our nervous system. They're so critical for us to realize, hey, everything right here in this experience is okay for me. I don't have to move in this urgent way. I don't have to worry that if I don't respond to this email, this client's going to go somewhere else. I do something that's very simple. If you contact me on a weekend and I don't have access to my client schedule, it's just something that I've decided not to have as an app on my phone. I felt very overwhelmed when I started my business and people would contact me, hey, can I change this? Can I get on your schedule? I heard wonderful things about you. And it was creating for me to feel overwhelmed because here I was, a brand new business owner, thinking I had to respond right away. And all it was doing, instead of bringing me joy and happiness that people wanted to get on my books, it was creating me to go, oh my gosh, please stop contacting me. I just need a minute. I'm just trying to enjoy my breakfast. And so I realized, hold on a minute, I'm the one that's causing that response. That person is reaching out for help. I know how important I am that they're asking for help. I know how important they are that they're asking for help. And so in that moment, instead of my feeling so rushed to get on my phone, to get on the computer, instead of enjoying that moment of peace and creating a barrier for having some type of peace for myself, I simply deleted the app and will send a text out going, I'll be in front of my computer in 4 hours or whatever it is. I will email you back or respond to you on Monday when I'm back in the office, whatever that is, so that I'm creating some type of barrier, because if I don't protect my time, no one else is. And this time for me right now is extremely important to me because I have a daughter who is graduating from high school. And for someone who's listening to this, you have something that's far more important in your life. Your business is important. I hear that. And I know that deeply in my heart that your business is important. But your time, we don't get this time back, right? We don't get these moments and these memories back. And so if we can create barriers, protective barriers, those boundaries that we all seek, to protect ourselves so that we're not feeling like the very thing that we love and we are passionate about is draining us and taking our joy away. That's not why you started your business. That's not why you started this vision, this dream, right? And, when we can get rejuvenated and we can get energized about it, that's why we protect ourselves. But boundaries can be very difficult for people who are people pleasers, right? I myself have identified as a people pleaser. Most people that walk in my office, they feel like they're people pleasers, right? So you go to have a boundary with your client or your time or whatever this is for yourself. And all of a sudden you feel your heart go up. You feel the constriction in your throat. You feel very uncomfortable. You feel very small. You feel like you are doing something wrong, right? Because the signals in your body are clearly creating stress signals that can be conflicting, right? So the very thing that you want is to create a boundary with your time, or saying no to a client, or saying to yourself, like, this is not necessary. I can take more time. I can take this vacation. I don't have to respond to this phone call during a vacation. Your body is still going to respond like you're doing something wrong, right? Because your body is used to everything being predictable. Your behavior, you're going against predictable behavior. This is all that's happening. There's just discomfort that's happening in your body. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just uncomfortable with the new behavior. So instead of dismissing that your heart is racing, or that suddenly you're starting to hear your heartbeat in your ears, or you're starting to feel flushed, or you're feeling nauseous in your stomach, it's important that you attend to those symptoms so that you give yourself comfort, which then tells your body, hey, what we're doing is the right thing, right? And so often we don't comfort ourselves when we're in that discomfort. We'll justify, we'll over explain, we might back away from that boundary because we didn't like the discomfort. But rarely do we attend to that symptoms that we're having and saying, hey, the house is not on fire, what you're doing is the right thing, right? But if you identify as a people pleaser and you're backing away from that, you can feel very naked in this experience. And I think that's the hard part, is that how we identify can be challenged when we're creating a boundary, right? And as women, especially, we're supposed to be nice people, are supposed to be kind, right? Kindness to yourself matters. And that's what's so important, is that you are making room to be kind to yourself.
Victoria, I wrote down this thought because I just realized the worst thing for me is if I am a people pleaser, but if I'm with another people pleaser, nobody is setting boundaries because we don't know how to set boundaries. Usually I'll look to the other person to create the boundary and I'll be like, yeah, that's great. You made a boundary for us. Let's do it. But I'm just realizing what you're saying is recognizing that, and recognizing, for me, one of my things that I like to do is, if I have to be the not people pleaser because I recognize the person is, you just made me realize that. Like, I realized, okay, now if I do notice that, I do have to kind of level up and be the person that recognizes it for both of us and say, hey, how about we do set this boundary? That does give me a little anxiety, but I think we need that. You're saying, like, we need somebody to step in, which is ourselves, and boundary ourselves. Okay, that, Anna, I don't know, that was, yeah, and you're so right. So many things.
So I feel like I am the person you look to set the boundaries, Selena.
I do.
And sometimes I'm not as good at it either, because I have a hard time saying no, and I can talk a big talk. But when those feelings of discomfort, which you described so incredibly well, right? I was like, yep, everything you said, I was like, it's starting to happen to me right now. Actually, I can feel it. I can feel it coming. The stress, but everything that you described, I'm like, I recognize what you're saying right now, that those feelings of discomfort do make me want to back away and say, oh wait, maybe that just this one time, right? But here's the part that really caught my attention, was when you said there is something in your life that is more important than whatever you're going to break your boundary for. There's something in your life that needs your attention, your time, this space more than that thing. And I think that's going to be my little post-it note takeaway from this, is to remind myself of what those are. I also have a child, 17, getting ready to graduate a year. I got a year, but that last year is crazy, right?
Yeah.
There's so much happening, and it is one of those things where those moments are precious. The time is short.
Yeah.
You start to feel that coming, and whether it's your child graduating, or it's your parents, or it's your dog, or it's your spouse or partner, or whatever that looks like, or it's you taking time for yourself, for like leadership development, or business development in some way, shape, or form, giving yourself permission to say, I can't afford not to take this time for me. It's that important. Anyway, so good. Victoria,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
listen, she's behind in the green room going like, I don't know if I this and that and the talking and and then you just spun out like a complete 8-minute or whatever time frame it was, like conversation that kept me totally enthralled on this topic.
Yeah. No, you too had me at where you mentioned my daughter did graduate from high school a year and a half ago. And my perception was I did come from a 20-year career in the restaurant field, which has zero structure in having, oh, that's not a Monday through Friday gig. That's a whenever. And then into running my own business. And I thought about this as my daughter is graduating, as being able to be so present like during her last week and all the festivities and the families that we had. And I was like, and not having the stress of having to be somebody else's employee and requesting, and because that does add a layer of stress. And the people pleaser that I am is like, okay, that's fine. I'll give up this thing for my kid so I could work a shift because you said. I know that's the reality, but you brought me there when you said that. And first of all, congratulations, your kiddo is almost there, and how scary and how fun and exciting that you got them to this finish line. So anyway, yeah, Anna, so on point.
This is the only other thing I would add to this is, as I was sitting there thinking about this, I was thinking, I do frequently, when I get into that stress mode of I'm breaking my boundary, I do want to change my mind, right? And what I appreciated is you were saying, no, you have to stop and you have to think it through and process, almost like you have to practice having boundaries, which feels silly to say. I'm like, we need like a support group. We're going to create the boundary support group. So you're going to set a boundary. You're going to keep your boundary. You're going to tag Victoria. You're going to tag Anna and Selena. You're going to tell us what boundary you kept this week, right? When you're listening to this conversation, like think about something you have the worst time saying no to. I volunteer for an organization. I never say no, never. I'll tell Selena, I'm not doing it this year. And then the next week I'm like, they asked and I really like it. And I never say no. Yeah. And so it's identifying that thing you're not going to say no to, and maybe restructuring the way you need to look at that in terms of what you were talking about, Victoria. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Can I ask one of our sub questions, Anna? We didn't even share this with Victoria, but just what would you tell a business owner that is crossing their own boundary? What advice would you say? Hey, we talked about this.
When you violate your own boundary within yourself. Sometimes for me, it's sitting with a client going, what's the sacrifice here? Let's just keep going down this rabbit hole of you doing this for 5 months. No, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep adding to the sacrifices, right? And so when we look at the sacrifices that we're making with that one-time violating, because it's never one-time violation, right? Because if we keep giving ourselves the feedback like, oh, that's okay, that's a temporary discomfort, that's a temporary consequence, right? Because we do it once or twice, and then it just becomes a constant, like foreign language, right? To a lot of us, boundaries are a foreign language. They're a great concept. They're a great word that you look at a book and go, oh, that's great. That worked out for X, Y, and Z. That just doesn't work for me. No one seems to respect when I hear that a lot. People don't respect me if I have a boundary and people don't respect this or that. And I go, okay, hold on a minute. Maybe what you're really not doing is respecting yourself. And I will say this, and I know I'm repeating myself, but if we're not attending to that part of ourselves that says, hey, this is not safe for me to have a boundary, because maybe as a child, you were yelled at for having an opinion. Maybe you got yelled at by your teacher for having a different perspective, right? And then you go into your workforce and you got validated for being a people pleaser. But if you said to someone, hey, I need extra time on that project, or that doesn't work for me, it was like you felt like you became a target. And if that became completely unsafe for you and you have years of history, you're going to violate your own boundary because you don't know how to be with yourself when you're uncomfortable. It feels easier to just nod and say, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, that's okay. I'll take that extra shift. Or, yeah, I'll work through my lunch. I'll have a liquid lunch. Sure, I don't need a break. But if you do that over time, the consequences keep increasing. And so by looking at yourself and going, hey, we can find our inner compassionate voice to talk us off the ledge. Let's go find that voice to tell us that this is okay, because we're not looking for validation. We need to validate ourselves. We are looking for the other person to be like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you saying no. And you're probably not going to get that. Right. So if you don't validate the little voice, the little person inside of you screaming, help me, you're going to always hit, you're always going to be hitting that barrier of going, it's just easier if I just say yes to this. This is just a lot easier because there are too many voices. There's a whole committee going in my head saying that this is wrong.
Yes, the committee in your head saying this is wrong. I can identify with so much of what you're talking about right now. And you're right. When you are, especially, there's a lot of small business owners that started out in the corporate world, right? And now they're running their own business. And there is this, oh, are you a team player? Are you difficult to work with? Are you not praised for things where you have strong boundaries necessarily? You're praised for doing more, going above and beyond, giving the extra, right? That's where the praise comes. And so when you do start your own business, you fall into that trap. I love that you said it just multiplies. Okay, so you're going to do this for the next 5 days, and then the next 5 months, and then the next 5 years. And you really start to look at the impact over time. It becomes very significant. So I appreciate you highlighting that aspect of it's never just one time. And we all know that. And if you're saying it is, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
We're calling you out right here on the Keep Ditch Try.
No, there was this like assertive energy that I got from you that I need to be like, Selena, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, really? Like, how long are you going to do this? And I think I needed that. I really, I did that. Yeah, you're right, Anna. That part was my like, yes, ma'am, you're right. You're right.
I know we're going to have a t-shirt. We make a t-shirt up for every show. So this one is going to say channel your inner Victoria. And it's going to be like, it's the say no or set the boundary t-shirt, but we don't have to say that out loud. It's just going to say channel your inner Victoria. And we all know what that means now. We all know.
We do. Oh my gosh. Okay, look, let's move into this rapid fire keep ditch try. Victoria, please don't mind me in my silly little video that I love to put up that just segues us into this. So I'm going to do that real quick. There we go. All right.
Let's keep ditch try.
Okay. So Anna, why don't you start us off?
Yes, I would love to start us off. All right. So the very first thing is we want to ask you, so anyone who's listening here, what's one thing you would say if you're doing this, keep doing this in your business as it pertains to this topic we have today? Don't stop.
Keep motivating yourself and really know where your inner critic lies in your decision making. Really have conversations, honest, true conversations with yourself, and know where your inner critic is the driver. And if it is a driver, then we've got to move into much more self-compassionate, much more of a motivation conversations that you're having with yourself. And your inner critic will also have an opinion about your boundaries and keeping them and not keeping them.
And this is when we put our channel in your inner
Victoria channel feature. Inner Victoria, guys. Yeah, because my inner critic is not nice. You are absolutely right. But yeah, I love that. I know we're supposed to ask you the next thing, but I just wanted to say, like, to keep having an honest conversation with yourself, because if you're setting it but you keep breaking it, what's the real problem, really? You know what I mean? And there's like why you can't attain this boundary that you are trying to say.
I know we're supposed to be rapid fire, but we can never. We're bad at Victoria.
Yeah.
This is something we're working on as well.
Yes.
But I do want to say also, what you're saying is essentially you have to practice. Nobody's going to be perfect at setting boundaries when your whole life you're praised for not having them.
Yeah.
So it is something you have to practice. Don't give up after try one and be like, so much for that. I guess I just won't set any boundaries at all.
I love that we literally just broke our own boundary right now in front of Victoria of a boundary we had set for ourselves, Anna. Sorry, Victoria. We're going to work on that.
All right, Selena.
Okay, let's talk about ditching, obviously. What would you tell people that, come to you about boundaries? What would you tell them to get rid of? What is something they just absolutely got to ditch?
The belief that it's too hard, the belief that it's going to be impossible, the belief that if they do it, there's going to be dire consequences. If you believe that there's going to be dire consequences, you're not going to get started. And we don't start, at least my belief system is that you don't start at 100. You start at a boundary that creates safety for you. And then we inch up and we inch up and we inch up until we're there, unless we're at a very high risk situation, right? So this idea of there's going to be dire consequences if I set a boundary, we'll just use our mother. If I create a boundary with my mother, then, the whole world's going to fall apart. Will it really fall apart, or have we convinced ourselves? Because when you're around her, you still feel like you're 5 years old versus the age that you are. Oh yeah, and you pay your own bills and you've got your own education, and let's go down all the list of all the wonderful things that are you. And so that truth is not real. It's not a truth that is a valid truth anymore for you. Maybe when you were younger, but not now, not your current state. And so then we create space for that. So ditch this idea that there's the bear is coming for you if you create a boundary.
How did you know? That is exactly what my problem is.
Usually is.
Let me just pull the mom card right now, because everybody can relate to that on some level. Right?
My mom and I have this every time I go home to Hawaii to visit. I love my mom. She's my favorite person in the entire world, but she can sure make me feel sometimes, like you said, like I'm 5. Again, setting boundaries right now. We're gonna move on to the try part, because
we are gonna move on, but I just want to say 2 words. Yes. Dire consequences.
Yes.
You use that word and I love it, because I'm like, that is what it feels like, and it is not the true story.
Yes.
It's not. Okay, now I am going to set the boundary. All right, Victoria, if you were going to tell our listening audience one thing that this week they need to put it on their to-do list and they need to try, what would you tell them to do?
Identify an area that you really need to work on getting honest and true with yourself. And so I'm going to use the word try, because sometimes for a boundary, there are a lot of people who were raised in families that were dysfunctional. And so boundaries, again, it feels very foreign. It feels like something else that everyone else can do really easily and something that you struggle with. So trying to do it, trying, and giving yourself space. It's not going to be perfect. And just noticing your own discomfort in that.
And honestly, they may have to even take a moment and say, all right, I've identified it, and I'm not even sure what my boundary should be. That's going to be a big piece of it. Because if you don't know how to set boundaries very well, or if you have a hard time keeping them, you might be like, I tried hit this and that didn't work. But then it does come down to, again, reevaluating the why didn't it work? Was it feelings of discomfort that I couldn't sit in? Was it, oh my gosh, there's so much good stuff here.
Yeah, you guys, look, that was a fantastic keep, ditch, try. Very manageable to work on and implement, and
soothe your inner child with some ice cream when you're done.
Yeah. And just know it's not a dire consequence.
Yes. Yeah. She even said the bear's not coming to get you. I love that one.
I mean, mine is actually Jaws, but very similar. I grew up in Hawaii around an ocean, and I just imagined that Jaws was coming to get me in a pool or the water when we swam in the ocean.
And the bears for me, right? Because I was Pacific Northwest. So the bears are coming for me. The sharks are coming for you, Selena.
Yeah. No, this is so crazy. I would love to continue this conversation just in the keep, ditch, try, because those are fantastic. But I realize we don't have all day. And guys, we took a little extra time with Victoria because we did not have our stuff together today. And okay, Victoria, let's answer this question. If anybody listening on the podcast or watching this on YouTube could take away one thing from our conversation, what's that one takeaway you hope they have or they get?
Oftentimes we're using our imagination, and we're using that imagination when we have a boundary that we're creating and it's a new boundary, and we look at the other person and we imagine how they're going to respond, or we imagine what the consequence is, and we imagine that fearful experience that we're going to have, and all of that sets us up to not have a positive experience within ourselves. So, my takeaway for you is, instead of using your imagination to create every negative outcome that could be humanly possible, instead of that, why don't you take a moment and really listen to that part of you that's screaming, "Help me, I don't feel comfortable right now," and gently putting your hand on your heart or on your belly or both, and taking a couple of deep breaths, returning to a truth. So, I'm not really big on affirmations, I'm not really big on huge positive self-talk motivation speaks. I'm really about telling yourself a real truth that is concrete for you in this moment and in this experience. And what happens when we do that, we talk ourselves off the ledge of being like, I can't do this. I can't handle this right now. I'm going to put this back in the back burner. I'll get to this boundary another day. And so instead of doing that, allowing there to be space for you to just feel that part of you that's afraid and know that you can do this. The truth is that you've done much harder things. You wouldn't be where you're at if you hadn't done really hard things with your life and your life experiences. And so setting a boundary and creating safety around it.
Everybody needs a Victoria in their life.
Yes. Victoria, no, exactly,
So
Anna.
good.
Exactly what you
Okay.
just said.
All right. With that in mind, tell everyone where is one place that they can come and find you or your company. Tell them how to find you.
So excited. We're so excited. Anna's
HealingArtsVB.com is our website.
If you're a first-time listener, you might not know this, but everybody else will know this. So listen, we do show notes with every single show that we do, and those show notes are going to be on our website, annaselena.com/blog. All right. You can hop on our mailing list even, but you can grab those show notes. You're going to get links to everything we've talked about today that might have a link to it, including how to find Victoria and connect with her and learn more about what she does and how she can help you set some boundaries and feel better about doing that, and all the things that we talked about today that were so good. And also, you just want to know, because someday we really are making that t-shirt line, and you're gonna
we really are. One of these days, 160 some guests later, we will make it, because some of the classic things. And honestly, Victoria, I really do want to say thank you, because I think your perspective too on the takeaway of grounding yourself with one truth, I sat there and thought of it, and I'm so glad you said that, because I think I just do feel grounded with the truth that I just told myself. And I appreciate that perspective, because you're right. Sometimes, not that I'm opposed to the positive affirmations, but I think that grounding of the truth is such a great way to remind yourself, like, because you can't lie and say you're not that. You know what I mean? So anyway, I like to gibble gabble. That's why Anna always closes the show. But Victoria, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for calling me out, telling me about my shark and what to do with it. So Anna, take it away.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's Keep Ditch Try podcast. Victoria, you are a fantastic guest, and I cannot wait to follow you closer, to see what you're doing and how you're doing it, to continue to get wisdom from you in all the places, because clearly I need it. I have no boundaries. I'm terrible at them. So this was a really good conversation, though, to make it feel more doable and to recognize, oh, so those feelings I have aren't just me also. And I think that's the big piece of being able to say, it's not just me. So thank you for being our guest today. We've appreciated it so much, and we can't wait to see everyone else at the next Keep Ditch Try podcast. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.